Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, the all teachers and all practitioners. Right now is Saturday afternoon, April 9, 2024. We continue with the topic the things that our Zen practitioners find it difficult to accept. So our karmic habits of ignorance and afflictions influence us all the time. But when we practice, we have to find a way to put them down, even no matter how hard it is. Like when we turn inward, sometimes we find it difficult to move away from the subject, but we have to still move away from the subject when we practice. And then even if it's difficult to put down our karmic habits, we still have to do it. And when we ask the Hoa Thou question, the question seems to be like a meaningless question. That's why it's difficult for our practitioners to continue to ask the questions. They feel like it is too boring to keep asking the question, and they very easily go after the signs, the forms. But if you truly want to get improved on your practice, you have to move away from all of the signs and forms, all of the worldly matter. Or some of us find it difficult to accept that we still need to improve a lot on our practice. But if we want to align with the practice of Zen, then we have to accept that we still have a lot of flaws. That's what the patriarch taught us. In some, we talk about a lot of things that it is very hard to accept, but we have to find a way to accept them. And in order to do that, we have to make a vow, a long-term vow, to do it no matter how difficult it is, to not give up in the middle of the way, but to have to go all the way no matter how difficult it is. Like Master Lai Quả said, the long-term cause of the practice, the long-term cause of the doubt can be 30 years, 50 years, or the whole life. You know, we cannot just make a vow and then for 1 or 2 years and then we change, because if we do that, we will waste our own time and we still go after, just the form, the fame, all of the outside matters. And we have to overcome all of these difficulties and continue to practice all the way to fulfill our vow. So anyone here has any questions about the practice? Please bring up your question, or if you want to share your experience, you are welcome to. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha, the master and all practitioners. There was a time I feel like I don't want to come to the temple to practice because I don't feel healthy, but my bodily, and also I don't feel like my mind is ready to go. And then I have a lot of pain in my body. That make me feel really depressed. And then I have to find a way to overcome everything. No one can help me. So this topic that I just mentioned today is about the thing that is hard to accept and hard to overcome. We still have to learn to accept and overcome, all of the things that happen to us because of our karma, like our disease, our sickness, our old age, especially when we are much older, we don't feel as healthy and we don't have as much energy. But if our mind is strong and our mind always about the temple, then it can help us overcome the sickness. Even the Buddha taught us to use the precepts as a guide. The precepts, he said, if the precept is still followed, then Buddhism still exists. But if the precepts is all broken, then the Buddhism will be gone as well. And follow the precepts actually is not that simple or that easy. When we talk about the precepts, we have to put aside our own attachment, our own ego. We have to abide by the precepts no matter what, no matter how hard it is. Let's say your precept is to recite the sutra every month, right? Or even for our practice, we have to remind ourselves all the time to practice Zen. If we don't remind us to practice, we might, just following other things and forget about the practice. Therefore, the precepts and the rules are very helpful for the practitioners, just like all of these signs that we have here, like to focus, to pay attention to the hoa thou. They are there to remind us. So even all the rules that we created, sometimes there's still a lot of obstacles. That defer us from coming to the temple. However, we still have to, at least send over the thoughts that, because of a lot of challenges, I'm not able to be at the temple to practice with other people, but I hope that I still can be able to connect and practice in my mind. So we use that, the way to sending those thoughts to help us to still to appreciate, the practice. Because if we don't keep reminding us to do it, maintain doing it, then gradually we will give up and don't want to do it anymore. So when we make a vow to do something, it's like we vow to follow such rules. We create a rules for ourselves. So if we don't follow it, it's just like we're not following the precepts. The Buddha don't force anyone, right? But we have to raise the vow ourselves. So the precepts is like the tools to for us to rely on to, reach achievement on our practice. For the people who vow to practice Zen for liberation, we have to nurture our discipline, nurture our strength in our mind so that we don't give up midway. Just like in your case, for example, it takes you half a year to be able to come back to the temple. However, during that half of the year, you always think about the temple, right? And then when the conditions are right, you come back right away. So that is very good, and because of that strength from your mind, it helps you to overcome all of this, all of the obstacles, all of the sickness, all of the things that hard to accept. So if your mind is strong enough, you will be able to overcome all of those challenges. Cô Hải, please. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, dear Master and all Dharma friends. There is a practitioner who shared with me that when she listened to you, you talked a lot about ignorance and attachment. And she doesn't understand why you keep referring to those two words every time people ask you a question. Could you please explain more about these two words to help them understand? So these are the things that very hard to accept. For example, we are ignorant, but we cannot accept that we're ignorant, and we are bound by attachment, but we are unable to accept that we are bound by attachment. For example, if we talk about things in the word, someone who doesn't want to work hard, but just want um, to like live their life freely, and then they don't feel well about their life. And then when people tell them that they are not diligent enough and they're not willing to work hard enough, then uh, they feel very, they don't feel welcome with that idea. So diligence is very important. If we don't work hard but just want to look for other people to help us, and then we're no different than a beggar. And when someone said that we're just like a beggar who beg for someone to help us, then sometimes they cannot accept um, that feedback. So the ignorance and the attachment, they are very normal. It's not something special, but it's just because they don't want to accept, they don't want to believe that they still ignorant and bound by attachment. But they think that they already wise enough and liberated enough, then even the Buddha cannot help them. So it's just like we do not, if we don't accept that we are sick, right? For example, if we are um, drunk, or if we are sick but we don't want to accept that we are sick, then the doctor cannot help us. Only when we believe that we are sick and then we willing to explain everything to the doctor, then the doctor can help us, find a way to do all of the tests to help us uh, with the treatment. But if we don't accept that we're sick, right, we don't want to be accept that we are ignorant and bound by attachment, and we feel like these words are so hard to accept, then even if the Dharma is right here, they still not be able to take in the Dharma. Just like the Buddha said, someone who lives for many years but are not welcome to accept the Dharma of birth and death it cannot compare to someone who even just live one day but they are open up to the Dharma of birth and death. Because that person, even if they will die today, but as long as they open up to the Dharma, then in the next life they can continue to be on the right path, versus the one who lived for so many years but they are not willing to listen to the Dharma. Then in the next life they just create more and more bad karma. So in this case, that's all I can explain. Like a lot of people who's drunk and they just not willing to accept that they drunk. Please. Nam mô Shakyamuni Buddha.
Con kính thưa thầy,
Dear master or teachers and practitioners, do you feel like my voice is echo back? or we can listen to it well.
Có vang không?
Your voice is very clear.
Dạ. Thì con vừa mới Dạ thưa thầy, con cũng vừa mới nghe về vô minh và ngã chấp. Lúc nào thầy cũng hay nói về vô minh và ngã chấp.
When I listen to you talk a lot about ignorance and attachment, I feel a little bit weird because I feel like I'm normal, right? I'm not that ignorant, but after practicing for a while, I realized that yes, I'm full of ignorance and attachment. For example, when someone yell at me, I keep thinking about what they yell at me, and then when someone give me compliment, right? That make me really happy, and I attach to their compliment, and that's when I realized that what you say about ignorance and attachment is correct, and I feel like I just need to keep on practice more to understand what you teach us. That's all I want to say. Thank you. So just like us, right? We think that we are not sick, but in the sutra, the Buddha said, everything, all the things that you see and you hear, they are all of the signs of the sickness for countless lives. However, we don't accept that, right? We don't think that those are sickness. We think that what we hear, what we see is correct, and when we cannot accept
một chữ cũng không có xài được, một chữ trong kinh Pháp Hoa, chữ trong kinh Kim Cang, kinh Di Đà, kinh Niết Bàn, một chữ cũng không có xài được, đừng nói cả một câu, cả một danh hiệu, một chữ cũng không xài được, mà cũng đâu có chịu tin đâu. Nói một bụng kinh điển này nè, tam tạng giáo pháp giáo lý của Phật thông suốt nè, pháp sư mà đến
why the Buddha, the patriarch said, when it comes to the Zen temple, all of the words in the Buddhist sutra cannot be used, and people cannot accept that, So if we think about Ananda, he remembers all of the Dharma talks of the Buddha. He have the ability to remember everything. That is his talent, right? He's just like a recording that can record everything that the Buddha say. But the Buddha still say that, if it still cannot compare to practice practice what the Buddha teach.
Làm thị giả là ăn cơm của thầy hay là bận áo của thầy á, người ta ganh, mà A Nan đưa ra và người ta mời Phật đi trai tăng cúng dường mà không mời A Nan, dứt khoát A Nan không có đi, cho nên mới gặp nạn ma đăng già đó. Rồi đó là cái cách của A Nan. Trên tất cả những thời pháp mà giảng Long cung giảng trên cõi trời á, A Nan đâu lên được đâu, về phải nói lại giảng gì nói gì, cho nên tam tạng giáo điển á, kinh của Phật á, được trùng tuyên. Nếu mà không có
without Master Ananda reciting all of the teachings of the Buddha, we won't have all of the sutras today. But even the Buddha had to do something because he wants Ananda to reach liberation instead of being attached to all of those words from the sutras. And Mahakassapa has to prevent Ananda from the day of assembly the scriptures. If Ananda cannot reach enlightenment, and then at one night before dawn, Ananda suddenly reached enlightenment, and then he was able to join the assembly to create the scriptures. So our knowing is the sick knowing. Doesn't matter how the teaching, how good the teaching is. If we don't practice, we still cannot benefit from the use of the teachings. Like the Buddha said, at the end, we still have to liberate from all of the knowledge in order to reach liberation. Only when we transcend all of the ignorance and attachment, that is the best offering to the Buddha. If we anything that we might think it is only when we move away from duality can we reach enlightenment. So the knowledge that we have is kind of like a sickness for countless life. That's why we're saying the knowing of the human being is limited. What we know at the human level is limited at the human level. Similarly, the knowing of the heavenly being is limited at the heavenly being level. We are still suffer from competition, suffering from our desire, suffering from ignorance and attachment, and the other realms are have even more sufferings. Like our body is controlled by birth and old age, sickness and death. Our knowing is limited by our brain is limited by at our level, and even that knowing is it varies across different people, the smart people, the people who not smart, the female, the male, the king or the citizen, all of their knowings are different and all of knowing are limited, and that's why there's a lot that knowing sometimes create a lot of argument, a lot of fighting between parents and children, husband and wife.
Mà do cái thế lực thôi cho nên nó phải hạ mình, chứ mà nếu nó có cái thế lực mạnh, có tiền nhiều cái nó phản ứng lại liền. Chồng với vợ cũng vậy, chỉ thua kém nhau cái thế
And
hay là cái chủ ở trong
whoever have more power, that person can force upon the other person, and that knowing is a very limited knowing, and we are suffering because of that knowing. So the practice is to move away from duality, move away from that wrong knowing, so we can return to the true knowledge, the knowing that transcends duality, the prajna knowing, the prajna of the self nature. And to practice is to return to the brightness of the self nature, to put down all of the attachment and to help us treat our sickness. Phát Thiện, please. Dear Master, dear all Dharma friends, from what Sister Tâm just said, I feel like this is the sickness for a lot of people, including me, and the prescription that you give us to help cure our sickness, our attachment and ignorance. I feel like it helped me a lot, and I want to raise the idea that if you could give out the prescription, and then whoever come here and are willing to follow the prescription, they can help with their sickness. And then for me, all of your teachings is like medicine to me. So our suggestion is for Master to give the Dharma talk as just like a prescription for us to use that to help us overcome our sickness.
Chư tổ luôn luôn khai thị mở mang cho chúng ta, như giờ thiền tri thức cũng vậy, thầy tổ chúng ta cũng vậy, muốn chúng ta phải uống thuốc tức là phải làm
sao. So our patriarch want us to be aware of our sickness and to find a way to treat the sickness, and in order to repay the kindness of our patriarch, there's nothing more as good as to practice. If we waste any of our time, or if we keep letting our ignorance and attachment to limit our practice, then we are making a mistake and disappoint our own ambition. and disappoint the four the four gratefulness that we have to pay back. Just like Master Lai Hỏa said, if we genuinely practice, no matter what, we still going to have a lot of desire to practice. So the value of the practice is priceless, even more valuable than the gold. Or it, like the Buddha said, whoever teach about the meaning of the four statements, if that teaching reach the 50th people, then that value is even more than, the value of all of the jewels on this earth. That is to say that, the value of spreading down the Dharma to make sure that, someone will have the chance to liberate is so valuable. And also to help us to be aware and to keep on our practice. And to help us continue to practice and strengthen our belief in our mind all the way. So what we all do right now is to follow the teaching of the Buddha, the patriarch, and the wise teachers, so that we can maintain the Dharma and benefit all of the sentient beings. Linh, please. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear masters, all teachers, and all practitioners. When I hear about the repentance of Pháp Thiện, I feel very touched, because I feel like we are very lucky to meet the Dharma and very lucky to know you, because you remind us every day to practice it. It encourages us to keep up with our practice. Without your teaching, we would not be here today, even if we know the Dharma, but without your teaching, without your reminding, we will not be able to be here today. And why I am happy, because I feel like your efforts pay back. Your efforts didn't go to waste, because your teachings help us change, help us overcome all of the obstacles in our body and in our mind. And during this age, we still be able to know the Dharma, still be able to know you. I feel very precious and very grateful. That's all I want to share. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Everyone, if we have a strong desire on your practice, so when we talk about a practice, we always talk about to believe in the mind and to raise the doubt. It seems very simple. However, we are very easily influenced by the outside conditions, very easily get tricked by, the signs and the forms and the consciousness. So we have to be very cautious. If we truly treasure the Dharma, then we have to always practice. Only when we practice, then we will be able to appreciate the Dharma. And our practice have to follow the principle and have to be continuous to the point where we cannot lose it. And we will not willing to trade off with anything. That is when we reach a very good stage of the practice. So the important thing is that we have to always practice and always seek out the learning. Pháp Từ, please. Nam Mô Shakyamuni Buddha. Can you hear me clearly? Yes, I do. Dear Master and all practitioners, I have a question for you. You often remind us that ask the question and look at the question at the same time. But I don't know when I when I practice, it's very easily to fall into the stage of reciting the question. Could you please enlighten us on this issue? Thank you, Master. Master, like what I talked about this, there's some practitioners said, investigating the Hoa Thou question sometimes feel like just reciting the question, feel like there's no doubt. But he said, even if it's just like reciting the question, we still have to investigate, keep on practice, and don't create any expectation. Don't create that there has to be a doubt, or there has to be a solid doubt. Or just like Master Trung Phong said, if you see there is improvement, that is a thief's mind. Or if you feel like you are lazy, that's still a thief's mind, because that is the thought of, knowing. So whether to investigate the Hoa Thou or to look at the Hoa Thou, they have the same meaning. It means that we have to always care about our practice without interruption. So to ask and to look at, it's just skillful means created by our wise teachers, like Master Wei Li. Our Master Wei Li always said that, we have to do them at the same time. There's no first and next, they go together. And some people just separate them out. Some people just think that, oh, have to do this first and the other one next, or we have to keep asking the question and gradually the doubt, and then have the doubt raised next, But that's not the right thing. We just need to keep asking the question. It's because we still have something to seek, something to gain. That's why we constantly fear whether we do it correct or not. We do it where there is the doubt or not, and because of that, that create more obstacles to our practice. And then over time we keep practicing, but we don't see any improvement, and then we feel like we cannot accept it, and then we started doubting this Dharma, doubting ourselves, doubting the teaching. So all of that still because of our discrimination, our consciousness that lead us around without stopping. So what is difficult is that we don't want to stop that consciousness, and our patriarch want us to stop following our consciousness, and that's why they want us to just continue to ask the question and raise the doubt, no matter what we are doing. Always ask the question and raise the doubt clearly. And gradually, our practice go well without us knowing. So don't expect, when we have expectation, that is, we still have something to seek, something that we want to gain. Just keep on up with the practice. So just come back to the Hoa Thou question and keep asking before the existence of heaven and earth, what was I? And ask the question genuinely and just focus on the question. And focus on our practice, put all the thoughts into our practice. That the practice is like a medicine, no matter how bitter it is, we still have to take it. Just like the Hoa Thou question seems very meaningless, and some people feel like, oh, it's so boring to keep asking this meaningless question, but that is just our consciousness tricking us. So the teachings of the Buddha is to help us, overcome our obstacles So doesn't matter who we are, as long as we believe in ourselves and believe in the Dharma, eventually we will reach liberation and return to ourselves. The time is up. Goodbye everyone. Nam mô Shakyamuni Buddha.